They're coming.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 action horror film Death Valley, a film that is written and directed by Matthew Ninneber, and it stars, who I'm presuming is a relative, Jeremy Ninneber, Ethan Mitchell and Kristen Caster. Now this film has a familiar setup if you're a fan of action horror films, certainly. There is like this secret underground bunker where scientists have been experimenting on humans with DNA that they found in the ice. There is an accident at the lab. Some kind of creatures escape who are the results of this experimentation. And one of the survivors calls on a group of mercenaries to come and rescue her. When they get there, they discover that there is some defences stopping them getting into the bunker. Once they get past them, get inside the bunker, they then realise that they are then being preyed upon by this creature or creatures. Right, what are my thoughts on Death Valley? Well, this film, actually, there are the bones here of a decent creature feature, but it's unfortunately let down by its structure, narrative and predictability, unfortunately. It doesn't really feel like it's got its own identity. It borrows heavily from other films and other franchises. There's bits of Resident Evil in here. There's bits of Predator in here. There's even little bits of The Thing and things like that. And it all feels like it's... Even Doom, you know, the Dwayne Johnson film Doom, it felt a little bit reminiscent of that as well at times, this film. And it all felt a little bit predictable, and it all felt a little bit dull, and the setup was, real. I mean, the structure here and the narrative, it just didn't work for me at all, and the setup was really clumsy, and you kind of set these mercenaries up as being just a bit stupid, really. Do you know what I mean? The fact that these are supposed to be highly trained people, and they just, walking into traps or are just not very good at the jobs. And the two main leads here, one's called James, one's called Marshall, who are supposedly friends. But you get no real setup as to, what their relationship is, really. You get little snippets here and there. And one of the characters, James, played by Jeremy Ninneber, we see a very brief scene at the beginning with him having a discussion with his wife about a new baby on the way and all this kind of stuff. But like I say, it's very, very clumsy stuff in a sense of, is this supposed to make us care for these characters a little bit more? It doesn't really do the job because, it's a clumsy setup, and, the writing's rushed and we don't know anything about these characters, and they're not overly likeable. Certainly one of them, anyway, the Marshall character. He's more like a high school jock, really, than anything. He doesn't seem like a highly trained military professional at all. And there's like the characters that betray their own characteristics. Early in the film, there's a scene where the Marshall character is encouraging the James character, this other mercenary, to leave people on the battlefield, sort of thing. He doesn't seem interested in trying to save them or keep them alive. And then later in the film, it completely switches around when they find another survivor, a female survivor in the bunker who's part of their crew, and he wants to do everything in his power to try and save this one, and it kind of betrays who his character is, and there's no real reason as to why, his attitude would really change at that point in the film. So the film is really messy. It's so kind of all over the place. Now, the best thing that this film has got going for it, well, it's got two things that are going for it, really, is the effects. The creature effects, I think, are pretty good, pretty impressive, quite effective. And the production values for like a fairly low budget film. This film delivers on its production values. It looks good, the set design is good, and the lighting is good as for what you would expect in like a film set in a bunker. Yeah, it's dark where it needs to be, you've got your flashing lights where it needs to be. It tries to create suitable tension in some aspects of the film, even though it's fairly clumsy in doing that as well. So the production values are pretty good and the effects are pretty good, and that's what really elevates this above, some of the other low budget creature features you might watch. But the performances here are not particularly believable. or of a what you would call a high standard. And there's a plot twist that you can see coming an absolute mile away. Very, very predictable stuff. And like I said, the main characters just seem really naive and stupid to say that these are supposed to be trained professionals. And the setup is done so poorly at the beginning of the film. They turn up to kind of get in this bunker to try and rescue this scientist. And they've got to get through this like militia to get there and stuff, and you're kind of thinking, well, who's this militia? What are they doing? What's their purpose and stuff? And even though that's made clear later in the film, I think if they'd have been a bit smarter in how this was written, it might have made more sense as to why they were meeting this resistance early in the film. So yeah, clumsily set up. It doesn't start making an awful lot of sense until very late into the film, and at that point you kind of predicted it all anyway. So it's a fairly bog standard creature feature that is elevated above its standard by some good effects and some good production values. But overall, this is not going to set the world alight, and it didn't certainly overly interest me either. So I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. A 5 out of 10. Not a total disaster, and not a horrifically bad film or anything. But certainly it is not going to set your world on fire if you're a fan of standard creature features. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.